welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings. Still here. Inmendham-ish. Partially. Some of my stuff is now in the garbage. Yeah. But anyway, alright. So, been busy, tired, blah, blah, blah. Lots to do in the next couple of days, blah, 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 blah. So, no preparation, blah, blah, blah. Video sucks, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So I thought I would play a holiday. I haven't listened to these rubbish videos, and they're certainly rubbish. There's really no argument to be had here. This really is the whole conversation thing is so difficult because people do not have any respect for facts, and there's no way of listing a common set of facts and then saying, well, let's see how those facts add up. They just keep injecting rubbish notions to just break the factual chain that there has to be for there to be something called logic. You can't keep changing the goalpost and have a game. It just can't be done. So the only game to play is one with some sort of rules about what the conversation is about, and if you can't stay focused on that, then there's no conversation. So clearly Holiday is disagreeing with Piro because Piro won't play by those rules, and I can't play with Holiday because he won't play by those rules, in the sense that there's just no reason for me to experience consciousness, have it happen to me. It's happening, and for me to pretend that the obvious statement it makes to me, I mean, it's plainly obvious, is it makes me capable of feeling very badly or very not bad. It's just the truth. I'd pay hard cash, real hard money, to avoid some of the experiences we have to experience. They're horrible and unpleasant, terrible. They're bad, plainly, by their mere existence inside my consciousness, by me merely experiencing them. They are overtly bad. It's not subject to interpretation. It's not subject to opinion. It's not subject to qualification. It's not subject to any nonsensical twisting and turning or manipulation. You can't make it unbad with words. You can't make it unbad with perspective. You can't make it unbad with any of that crap. They're clearly designed by the machine to be bad for the explicit purpose of causing bad to happen, to make it mean something, to make it mean something bad, to make it bad. It's designed for that purpose, and it succeeds exceedingly well in creating bad. And anyone who disagrees is, in my opinion, insane. Any consciousness that disagrees. I could understand a soda machine that got a super chip put in it and it was really smart, but it never felt the sensation. I could understand that soda machine saying, I don't get you people. What are you griping about? Some sort of sensation thing? What do you mean? Oh, it's bad. It feels... What are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. Everything feels fine. Yeah, well, that's not who I'm talking to. I'm talking to somebody who knows what it feels like to feel miserable, to feel horrible, to have sensations that are repugnant in their very elemental core. And how can they ignore that truth? So again, there's just no starting point. If your starting point is, I'm going to ignore the most outstanding feature that I have noticed in the entire universe, this is the only feature that could possibly mean anything. Planets crashing, suns burning, things blowing up, galaxies disappear, who cares? Couldn't mean a damn thing. The only thing that can really mean something is this fact that these organisms with these brains do in fact create this moment of sensation, and the sensations are intrinsically, fundamentally, and I'm trying to think of a volume word, just outstandingly bad, written all over them. Nothing else is written on them. You're just saying, though, how can you have a conversation? How can somebody miss this? It's just not possible to be sane. You have to be insane to deny the fact that you clearly have no interest in feeling bad, no interest at all in feeling, and bad by your own definition of bad. I mean, not, oh, I enjoy being excited and I enjoy being out of breath. I mean, I like to get a little bit of, certain events you want to wear yourself out a little. It can be fun. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the stuff that you fear, the stuff that you don't want to experience, and there's a big pile of those. And you know it. So this isn't a complicated conversation to start with. There's the origin of value. The origin of value is the welfare of feeling organisms. If we were in intelligence and we had dominion and responsibility, that would be the thing that would occur to you, is that the thing that's important here is to prevent these organisms from feeling these bad things and try to maximize their comfort. There couldn't possibly be any other objective. Building monuments or pyramids, I wouldn't force the rats to do any of that nonsense. I'd come up with little games they can play so they feel energized and activated and comfortable, because that's what they want to do. They want to compete, and so I give them little games to play to compete, and but nobody loses too much, nobody wins too much. It all works out. They all feel excited and interested, and that would be the objective: is to not torture any of them and to prevent them from feeling bad. And I would argue that that's the only logical conclusion. Everything else is absolute nonsense. Pyramid building, nonsense. Just nonsense. Does it really matter whether a person wins a gold medal for swimming or jumping or hopping or picking their nose? Or does it matter what they win it for? No. It just matters that they win, feel this little I won feeling, and that's all there is to that. There's nothing more happening. There's just a feeling of accomplishment and I'm great, and being all for yourself and satisfied. And so it's just a goal accomplished, and it really doesn't matter whether it's a retard drawing a picture of a pumpkin or it's a gold medalist who spent 25 years training. It just doesn't really matter. The feeling is the same. It's just the feeling that we're all going to play for in the end, and that's all that really happened in the end, was an experience. Period. And just all the other crap just really doesn't matter. And I don't know if you have to go that far for me to have a conversation with you in terms of understanding that that's all that's at play here. That's the only money on the table. There's no other money on the table except torture and preventing it. That's it. And but you really have to have enough sense to say, yes, the conscious experience is the source of value. If there's nothing that can be hurt to have a bad feeling, nothing can have a bad feeling, then it doesn't matter what happens. And the only way anything can matter is it might make something feel bad. And that's the only way it can matter. There's no other source of value than the risk of degrading the quality of a consciousness's experience. That's it. So, with that said, I'm just saying that I don't see any other way to have a conversation, just because it's, if you don't understand what we're playing for, we can't play. It's, if you're playing football and I'm playing baseball, there's no game to play. We can't go anywhere with any kind of conversation about how we might have made a mistake somewhere, we might have done this, or in interpreting what our mission should be and how we should accomplish this task. See, we could argue about what's the best game for the rats to play. Should they play hopscotch or leapfrog, or what kind of game should we have that's safe enough but it's challenging enough to keep them interested? How we build the matrix. Well, the only conversation about how to build the matrix is keep it interesting, but minimize the torture, minimize the danger of creating very bad conscious sensations. Pull the cancer. I mean, that's the first thing you say. I'm going to make a matrix. Well, I'll get rid of this cancer crap, and I'll have some other structure so people just kind of fade away. They die by going to sleep one night and they just never wake up. That's wow, that solves a lot of suffering, right? You know, you don't actually get a disease and degrade and get disabled. None of that stuff happens. You just, one night, you just don't wake up the next day. And yeah, it happens when you're, you know, somewhere aged enough. And, you know, so there's still a little mystery about it, and life's still mysterious, and you still have to be sort of excited that you're alive another day, and you have to kind of protect against, oh, what if I die tomorrow and somebody, you know, rifles through all my porn or something? Oh, so I better hide that, or oh, I better get rid of that, or better, oh, I don't know what, I better do something. I mean, whatever it would be. I'm just saying, yeah. So that keeps us all interested, and you know, whatever. So you make the game interesting, and you just take the harm out of it, and that's all there is to this. That's the equation. That's, again, that's the money on the table. There's no other coinage in this game except the welfare of feeling animals. And this is the irony of the conversation, is Pyrrho in this wacky side of, you know, in this loony bin, where he's giving these complex neural functions to parameciums, and thinks they're thirsty, or think they have ambitions, and, you know, they're trying to win gold medals. You know, they don't have brains. I mean, you know, so I'm talking to one person can't figure out that our brain manifests sensation and the sensations are real, and he can't figure that out. And the other idiot can't figure out that you need a brain to do it. I mean, it's just, you know, hopeless. People are just belligerently dysfunctional. They're intellectually incapable of doing what I thought was simple common logic. It's somehow obnoxious to them to compile facts and rationally add them together, because they just can't do it. I mean, the volume of facts that indicate consciousness as a brain function is just an insane volume. You just can't evade it. And the personal experience of sensation and knowing its realness because we experience it, I just don't know how any idiot can miss that one. So, you're just saying, what am I talking to this idiot for? I have some sympathy in his argument with Pyrrho for him, because Pyrrho is a bigger lunatic. Well, he's a bigger liar. So that's the real point. I mean, Holiday's insane. Pyrrho's a liar. You know, I guess there's a difference. All right. So I guess we'll play this one. Mendham thinks we, yes, brains, are brains. Yes, that's right. My brain is where I am. That's where my consciousness lives. And persons. Well, I don't care about this person crap. So again, that's just bullshit. I think we're brains. I'm saying the animal brains are pretty much doing the same thing in terms of they have the real money on the table. They will have real welfare experiences. They will feel good and they will feel very bad. They'll have a real conscious experience. And so I don't give a shit about this person word. But clearly it's going to happen to the individual animals. It's going to happen to the individual organism. The individual brains create the value. You have to have a brain for the value to exist. How do you get around that statement? You have to have a brain for the value to exist, the value to be created. Brains created by creating sensation. How do you evade that? In a way that you think you have a right to be at all arrogant. I mean, I'm just saying, you're discounting something so fundamental to my experience, and you're telling me, no, it doesn't exist. It's right there in front of me. How the fuck can you tell me it doesn't exist? It's like telling me the scissor just in a scissors. It's not here. It doesn't exist. It's a figment of my imagination. What do you mean? It's right here. You're crazy.
So I noticed two problems. One is inmendham strawmans me by saying that I somehow.
No, there's no straw man. I've been very careful to point out what you're saying, okay? And you know, and you're saying that it's not an elemental function. You're saying it's somehow a subjective function, that I'm just subjectively somehow in some weird logic and in some weird form I'm creating my own misery or something, and I've defined it as a bad feeling, that it didn't just impose itself on me, that I somehow am interpreting it as bad, and therefore it's not really bad because it's just subject to some opinion thing. Like you can have discretion about it. Like the redness isn't red, you know, that isn't a real frequency of light. I'm not saying that Piro thinks colors aren't completely symbolic of something discrete, something absolute that exists, that the frequency isn't a real thing. Yet it's a real thing. It doesn't matter whether you see it as red or blue or pink. Fact is, it's an identifier that's reliable. We don't see red frequency as blue. Okay, you don't see them as any color. You always see the red frequency as the red frequency. It's a perfectly good symbolic relationship. You know, you don't have a direct equal sign maybe, but it's close enough to equal sign. Pretty straight lines. But anyway, so again, this is just a dodge to say somehow I'm not appreciating some subtlety of your argument. There's no subtlety to it. You're saying it's an illusion in the real sense of the word illusion. That is, it doesn't really happen. When it does really happen, and it's not illusionary in the sense that there's a real projector in our brain, there's real neural pathways, there's a real pattern, and if I duplicate that pattern somewhere else, I'll get the same sensation. So it's just nonsense to say there isn't a correlation to a reality, to a physical reality. Of course there is. So your argument is, I'm pointing out, is wrong. There's no excuse for saying it didn't really happen, because it's a real event that has a real cause and effect.
Discount other people's suffering, but don't discount my own suffering.
You clearly don't. So it again is just nonsense. So this is, you know, I didn't think you were going to make an argument this stupid. You know.
No, I discount everybody's suffering. Because
it's just a lie. So it's just a lie. You eat because you get hungry. You poo because it's uncomfortable if you don't. I mean, all of these things, we do the things because of discomfort. I could find a ton of things you do in your life to protect yourself from future discomforts. So this is just such a pile of crap.
I accept that I am a machine. You could say I am a programmed machine, but you have to be careful when you say that. You have to.
I don't have to be at all careful. We're programmed by the fact that we don't have complete exposure to reality. We do have it in selective pieces, so our logic can never be obligatory, in the sense that we don't see the facts and we don't see the weight of the facts in the same way. Therefore, we can have some discretion in how we process the reality, and that would be our individual programming.
You have to make sure you either qualify it or make sure the other person you're speaking to understands that you're not, that metaphor is broken down, because you're not really programmed by a person with a purpose. Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. When did I say you're programmed by a person? I said you're programmed by events, your exposure to a truth. You have a certain experience with flashlights. The flashlights you know might be mag lights, or they might be big fat flashlights, and they might be some of the kind of, some modern person might, flashlights are little things, blah, blah, blah. So they have a different kind of an understanding based on a different culture or basic experience with the thing called flashlight. And that changes depending on where and how you've been exposed to reality. So people have different definitions of the word love based on what their family did with the word, or how they were treated by people who said they loved them and all that kind of stuff. So everybody has a different definition of some of these words. My argument is that some of these facts are hard facts and some of them are soft facts. And I'm saying when you look at the hard facts, there's no way around the distinction between me with a brain having consciousness and the welfare of a flashlight that cannot possibly manifest pain and suffering or torture. And it's a clear, huge, gigantic cavern of difference. It is all the difference that could mean anything in the universe. If I was just a flashlight and I didn't do consciousness, then yes, you could do anything to me and it wouldn't matter. But it clearly does matter, because I, as a consciousness, having experiences, can in fact have bad ones. Bad by design, by evolutionary design, by 2 billion years of evolution, designed to create a system of reward and punishment designed to make me capable of experiencing value.
Not that metaphor breaks down is you are just a state of being, and we've come to label how it came to be in that state, but as you've arrived there through evolution.
And again, this has nothing to do with, again, he keeps trying to make the experience subjective. He keeps trying to make it like, because I was badly programmed, I get headaches, or I experience a headache as a negative event. It has nothing to do with any kind of programming. The fact is that's a biological program, so it's a different kind of program, and clearly the program is very effective at doing what it's trying to do, which is simulate value. So by trying to simulate value, I've said these words, and it's just unfortunate that there's no way I can just keep blinking it on the screen to you, that's what you really have to work with, is that evolution is trying to simulate. And what it accidentally did in attempting assimilation was to create the real thing. The real thing didn't exist until evolution caught on the idea of value, tried to simulate it in our brains, and ended up making it instead.
And we can metaphor that and say it's as though evolution programmed you, but that would, again, to be, you'd have to be careful on your usage of words and not to imbue a purpose to evolution.
Again, there's no confusion about the purpose argument. There's no purpose. It's just what made organisms work. The argument is the elemental capacity to experience sensation. Are those sensations real in the sense that they really happen? And do the quality that they have that I have no discretion over their quality. The quality of misery is misery. I mean, I can't qualify it. I can't in some way interpret it away and turn the bad into a good or into a nothing. It's impossible. It reeks of what it is. The bad, the negative, the unpleasant sensation reeks of its unpleasantness. I cannot in any way deny its color. It has the color of bad. Torture has the color of bad. And I can't fix it with words and bullshit and subjective interpretation. It's just nonsense. It is elemental to the sensation. And you're pretending it's not. Sorry. There's no, again, it's just an idiotic notion that somehow my brain is this experience is somehow, again, you're telling me I'm overtly having the difference in the sensations, and you're telling me that it's through just a fluke or some nonsense that they have this completely different flavor. And I'm saying, well, clearly the different flavor is for a purpose, and there's absolutely no reason to doubt its effectiveness because I'm experiencing it. Why would I doubt the meaning of it when it's right in my face telling me I'm here? So the second big problem I see is Inmendham thinks that he's a brain. He thinks I'm a brain. He thinks people are brains. Yes, I think the function of consciousness happens in a brain. Yes, without the brain, there's no consciousness, there's no logic, there's no interpretation. None of this shit can happen without the brain. But clearly the conscious part is essential. Obviously my knee jerk can do some things. It has some functions, but it's a pretty limited neural network. It's a pretty limited amount of functions it has. Clearly my brain can do lots of interpretations. It can do thinking besides just doing feeling. And these are different things. And so it has more than one function. But one of the functions it has when I'm conscious, yeah, it has functions when I'm unconscious. It still keeps my heart beating. It does lots of things, my brain, while I'm unconscious. But clearly, while I'm conscious, what it can do is create sensations. Wrong.
No, that's just to supplant, and the way he uses it, he just supplants the magical eye with the...
That's just absolutely nonsense. It has nothing to do with a magical eye. It's just recognizing what creates the function. It's like saying horses have hooves so they can move across the ground without, wearing their legs down. It's just logical. The brain is necessary. The substance of the event happens in a brain. Again, you're saying what? The substance of the event's happening somewhere else? We already know that you can basically cut all the parts off of a person, almost all of them, and as long as their brain's working, they're still feeling stuff.
Magical brain, yeah, because this brain collects facts. Yeah? No, it just grinds out the gears. The cogs turn. The pull.
Whatever. Again, and those cogs have a shape that is completely dependent on the circumstance that gave that a symbolic representation. It's symbolizing something in the environment. The cogs have little notches that are completely proportional, are directly almost equal to what we identify. So what the brain connects it to because of some category that fits. So it cuts the gears in a very logical way. Man, I just don't, you're just too fucking, what do you want me to say? How do you do this shit? How do you turn something like this into semantics? It is not about some stupid semantics. We do process information like a calculator, and we can process it by strict rules, or we can break the rules. And so clearly we do that. Clearly, and we can be hypocrites, and we can be duplicitous, and we can change the rule. We can do all these things I'm pointing out. We can have all these flaws. And flaws from what? Flaws from what the mechanism is, which is recognizing facts and combining them properly. Connecting dots rationally, not irrationally.
Please, wheel. Yeah? You have to understand, whenever you want to invoke logic, yeah, or programming metaphors, you have to understand that dominoes can achieve the same. Yeah?
Right. And when did I say it's anything other than dominoes inside of our brain? When did I say that? It's obviously just electricity in a sense, right? But I can't deny the function, okay? It's really hard to figure out exactly how my brain created a projector and a screen and a seat for me to sit in. But it did all of that. It's created a theater, all right, where there's definitely this vulnerable, gushy, feely thing that is basically tied into a chair. I mean, again, my consciousness isn't speaking these words. Clearly, my brain did all of that in the background somewhere. And I'm consciously hearing them for the first time, in a sense. I'm saying, whoa, I just said that. Well, I just said that. I mean, this is the way it works. I mean, I can't change the way it works. You're saying that because you've come up with some simple diagram that you can match what the function is to your simple diagram. Well, I'm saying, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to be able to just set up some dominoes and get the same effect. Because whatever this effect is, whatever the complexity is of the arrangement, it clearly is working. It's clearly creating this internal illusion. And again, calling it an illusion is being unfair to it because it clearly has structural correlation. Now, whether you could actually physically make it out of dominoes, I don't know. Maybe you could. Maybe you can make the Lego version of a brain. Maybe you could. I'm just saying, obviously, we don't have the technology to do that. It's only 100 billion neurons, right? I mean, gee. So, obviously, we don't have the technology to synthesize it at this point. But nowhere have I argued that there's any magic in it. I'm arguing that it is just knee-jerk, 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 knee-jerk. It's just a bunch of knee-jerks piled on top of each other. But clearly, what it's producing cannot be denied in that it's creating a qualitative experience. Again, you're saying the qualitative experience doesn't exist, which in my opinion, again, is just fucking insane. It's an insane starting point. I'm sitting here experiencing it, for fuck's sake. How can you tell me I'm not experiencing it? I'm experiencing the radical difference between a nail in my eye and having a cupcake. I know the fucking difference. If I was to experience the two events, I would know the difference between them. I wouldn't be at all fucking confused. This is just an inane conversation.
They can achieve the same Turing machine status, right? That's a fact.
Again, you're saying it's a fact. It's just not one you could demonstrate and prove. I mean, there really might need to be some kind of connection between, you might have to make it out of something gooey, biologically complex. So it couldn't just be a domino, in a sense. But if you want to break it down to electrons, protons, and neutrons, okay, let's do that. So there's photons, there's electrons, neutrons, and protons. Obviously, they're doing it. So if you want to say the dominoes are those atomic pieces, then we might be able to have the conversation. And we know that those things are dependent on the charge relationship and the absorption of momentum by certain rules. So yeah, I'm saying that's what's creating it. Certainly. There's nothing magical I'm claiming. There's no claims of anything magical happening. And I pointed out, clearly there's an arrangement in my brain. When I'm feeling a certain thing, it's a certain arrangement of electricity. And, we have some ability to take photos even of some of that energy. Okay, they're very, hardly detailed. We can't look inside our brain and see that we're thinking about a butterfly or thinking about a brick wall. But I'm just saying we're on that road. And so we know there's correlations between the physical arrangement and what is experienced. And I can poke holes in the physical body of it and break the connections and cause erroneous feelings and emotions and thoughts and perceptions. So again, what is your argument? That the perception doesn't exist in the brain? Well, I can hit it with a piece of metal and cause it to be experienced. So clearly it does exist in there.
And I'm guided about all my words. For, let's say, the purposes of this conversation, will use this linguistic trap that I'm in, and use these linguistic devices to convey information. That the devices I will use are first-person senses and third-person senses. I don't even know what a second-person sense is.
Again, why do I care about any of this thing? I'm basically saying that the different brains are having the same experience as me, and both qualitative and intellectually, in the sense that, yes, if you speak English, then we have similar mechanisms for arranging information. Arranging our symbolic, we have the same word for this frequency. We have some common markers. And so we can exchange information rather efficiently because we speak the same language. So of course, that's part of the game. But again, as soon as you start getting into second and third persons, why would I bother with any of that nonsense? I'm not trying to experience somebody else's pain. I'm just recognizing that it exists. I'm not claiming any ability to truly feel their pain. I'm just saying I am capable of understanding its existence, just as I can understand my own in that context. I can take my consciousness, I can take my understanding of myself, and I can pretend to be somebody sitting over there watching me converse with you. I can imagine doing that. And that's all that's required here to understand I'm a person, he's a person, she's a person. Okay? And to be more direct in terms of my own wish to change the language, I'm a consciousness, you're a consciousness, the dog's a consciousness, the pig's a consciousness. They all have a welfare stake. They have different kinds of capacities, but clearly one of the capacities that's old evolution is the capacity to do the reward and punishment thing, to be rewarded and punished, to feel. That's an old capacity. Lots of organisms have it.
Really? No, when I use it, when pushed back, I'm totally, it's not really we are collecting facts. It's just convenient to talk like that. It's mission.
Again, I don't want to argue about it, but I mean, yes, clearly, I'm just saying that clearly we all can't get perfect knowledge. So we all collect information, some conceptual idea of things. I say this weighs 3 pounds, you say it weighs 3.5, But we understand the concept of its weight, and we understand a range that it fits in that's reasonable. And that's all we need to have a conversation, is some kind of accurate identification of what mechanically is in this subject. And you're saying that mechanically you can say it doesn't matter whether conscious beings feel good or feel bad. It's the same feeling. It's the same event, and the same that it doesn't have any meaningful, identifiable difference. And I'm saying it's quite obviously exactly the opposite from my perspective. There's no other way to interpret it.
Means grinding in contact with the outside world become a different status, right? Now, I thought inmendham was of exactly the same position. I think he is.
Yeah. So again, this whole conversation is just a waste of time, in the sense that I don't know why you're arguing how we interpret it. Again, the only interpretation that matters is you're saying it's a true illusion, in the sense that it doesn't have any correlation to reality, and that the event is truly, I don't even know how to describe it. Like I can make up a picture of a fake animal, okay, that has deer horns and a tail like a kangaroo, and fur on its feet, but skin over. I mean, I could just create some completely fake thing that never existed, never was, never is real, and it doesn't have any correlation to any real event. You're saying that I'm to believe that the difference between my positive and negative sensations, my good and bad feelings, is illusionary, in the sense that the difference isn't anything real. It doesn't really, there is no difference. And you're saying that to me, okay, as I experience these feelings. And it's just, to me, the most illogical words that come out of your mouth. I cannot imagine. I mean, it's telling me this is a bird. It's telling me pigs can fly. It's telling me something so ludicrous. I have no a capacity to see how there's any insufficiency to the solidness of the difference between having a nail in my eye and a cupcake. The difference is solid. It's reliable. It's dependable. It's a hard, real difference. And the only difference is value.
But I think he forgets that he is. That's what it seems. Because I don't believe that he holds on to these metaphors. So
fuck you. It's not a metaphor. I say we're brains, and I say our consciousness is in our brain. That's a metaphor. I say it's entirely programmed and mechanical. That's a metaphor? No, those are overt, explicit statements. Again, the only argument here is you're saying that this conscious experience I'm having, of having sensations, that somehow it's a fraud, and that there really doesn't mean anything. That when people are tortured, nothing real is happening. And that when I feel really sick or bad, nothing bad really happened. It was okay. It's okay if I feel bad. And I'm saying that, to me, is an illogical statement. It can't possibly fit as a logical statement. It's just not possible. As a conscious organism experiencing it, there's no way you can tell me it's not, when it reeks of it. It can't be interpreted any other way rationally. It just can't be a non-fact that there's a difference between those two sensations. It's just ludicrous to claim that they're indistinguishable by any standard that could matter.
Strongly, as he appears to. Right? That's why I think there's hope. Right?
There's no hope. I'm just saying. I don't know why you would even think it's possible for me to sit there and say it doesn't matter. I can just as well, just take these scissors and stick them up my ass. I can cut my nuts off. I can do. So who cares? I'm just going to feel bad. So what? I felt bad. Oh, no big deal. No, it'd be a big deal.
To understand that if he is really just a cog, then there is no real sense in which he can say, I collect facts, or if we are just cogs, we...
Again, it's just, one calculator, two calculators, three calculators. It's like saying every computer's the same computer. It's just ludicrous. They can be flawed, they can be overheated, a wire can be broken, lots of things can be different, and then they'll process information differently. This is just a ludicrous conversation. I'm a brain. There's no doubt about it. This particular brain is experiencing the world. It has opinions. It's compiled information. It's drawn pictures. It has a certain limits to its imagination. It has a certain number of ingredients have come in, and I will puke out a certain amount of whatever crap that I make out of those ingredients. That's just a fact. It's an individual brain. What is your alternative explanation? It's not an individual brain? What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, this is so frustrating. I mean, what are you talking about? How can you possibly say we're not individual brains? I mean, it just doesn't. What are you talking about? I'm clearly an individual brain. I'm clearly not you. I'm clearly not the dog. I'm any of those other brains. I'm this one. I'm calculator 4 million, whatever. I'm an identified unit of calculation. Fuck. Of gears. My gears are really my gears. Not your gears, not their gears, not some other gear. They're my gears. They're these gears, identified as this package of gear. Fuck. Brain. Gary Brain.
Collect facts. And we scrutinise a thing that is said to be a fact for its truth. If we are just cogs, that is, those words are all just metaphors for the...
Bullshit. Every definition of everything happened because we experienced it first, right? I mean, wetness was because water's wet. We identified what the quality was that water had. And in other cases, we define words with other definitions. And all the definitions have an origin. And they have an origin based on something that commonly happens. Down, up, left, right, forward, back. These are all things we identify. They are real things that exist, and we properly label them with some sort of label, and then we use those labels in common circumstances when other things fit the property of forward. We reckon, that's a forward thing. That's an up thing. That's a down thing. That's a fat thing. That's a thin thing. Bullshit. Not complicated. It starts with something solid. And then it can become metaphorical. But the language itself is built out of something originally that was pretty explicit.
Grinding of machinery. So yeah, I'm not discounting everybody else's suffering.
No, I didn't say you were discounting everybody else's suffering. I'm saying you're a duplicitous, lying piece of shit if you're saying you don't protect yourself from bad experiences, from feeling bad sensations. I'm saying you're an insane liar.
Discounting my suffering, yeah. If some alien came down, tortured me for 1,000,000 years, yeah, and then a trillion years, a trillion years to the heat death of the universe, it wouldn't have meant anything.
Okay, so I just wish we could make this bargain for real. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, I really do wish you get boiled. I hope you have the worst possible death possible. I hope you deserve it. I mean, in the sense that to minimize other people's suffering is a disgusting thing to do. To discount its existence is the most important thing happening in this universe, and for you to piss on it like that, I just say you're a fucking liar. If I could give you the real chance to make that a real risk, that you would be tortured forever, if that was a real risk, you're a liar saying that you would take that chance, that you would willy-nilly take the chance of drawing that. So you could have a Cheeto, and for the price of the Cheeto there's a 50-50 chance you get tortured forever. And you're telling me you'd take the Cheeto because, yeah, it's free money? I'm not risking anything? You're a fucking liar. I mean, swear that on something important. Your son's life. Go ahead, just for the fun of it. Go swear, yeah, on your son's fucking welfare. You liar.
Yeah, I can predict, because that's part of the machinery, that this piece of kit will be going, ah, 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 yeah. lots.
So again, it's just this. He's mocking suffering. He's mocking how dramatic and horrible it is. He's mocking all the victims of history, all the people who have died poorly and suffered greatly. He's mocking that. What a disgusting creature.
I can predict ahead of time that that will happen. And I can fairly well predict that if this alien got the both of us and tortured us for the end ahead of time, that we'd both be going, yeah? But that isn't to say that, that anything really has happened.
I didn't give a shit about whether you animate your suffering. Frankly, my darkest suffering doesn't have any animation to it. I don't scream and squirm and do all that kind of crap. But regardless of whether I did or didn't, again, for you to think that what you're saying, I don't know how you could have an expectation that you could ever convince a rational person to think it doesn't matter if they're tortured. I just can't imagine it. I can't. How did you get so fucking insane? I mean, I'm just, like I said, generally speaking, you seem to be able to add 2 plus 2. How the fuck could you get this one wrong? And again, I would argue the only way you got it wrong is because you have a psychological issue, a disturbing neuroses. I have some of those. I have some neuroses. I have vertigo. Completely irrational nonsense. And I guess you have an irrational nonsense here where this is your escape. This is to keep you from going insane, is to pretend it doesn't matter. Torture doesn't mean anything. Suffering doesn't mean anything. But it's crazy.
And this is the push, right, that I want him to accept, that any statement that gets above that bit.
I've already accepted. Again, I'm clearly pointing out you're insane. You're the most elemental, the most important fact to be properly recognized, and you failed to recognize the most important fact in the universe, that it does matter whether somebody sticks a nail in your eye or you eat a cupcake, that the two experiences are fundamentally different. One is bad, one is good, and it's intrinsically good and bad, all by itself. Sitting in isolation in the middle of space, if something was to experience nail in the eye or a cupcake, it would be completely rational for the most intelligent computer on the earth to figure out it's a better idea to do that cupcake thing than that nail in the eye thing.
Basic insight of our machinery is based upon a contingency. If I allow that I'm a brain and that I'm functioning as an eye and such.
Again, you're not functioning as an eye. So again, so you talk about paraphrases and misparaphrases and putting words and, that's not the statement. That's like Pirro saying I'm denying all published papers or something, where clearly I have, especially watching Pirro, you start to gain some cynicism about, well, if these are the assholes, the gatekeepers, you can say that, yeah, well, there's no, that maybe publish is bullshit. Maybe peer review is bullshit if this is the gatekeeper of peer review. But anyway, you're connecting things that don't need to be connected. You don't need to have conversations about eyes. I've already clearly stated we're just robots. I've used the word. I wouldn't say the robot is a true eye. But if the robot feels, I'm going to concede he feels. So if you can make a robot that can experience sensation, that's a real thing. I don't need to call it an eye. Eyeing things is irrelevant here. That's not this conversation. Why are you dragging that crap in here?
And only under that schema can you get what you're saying to work, right? But when you yourself...
No, I've made it as clear as I can make it, okay? There's a projector in my brain, and my brain created a screen, and then it took this thing that just is nailed to the chair, and it says, you're going to watch this movie, okay? You're going to experience. That's it. I mean, there's no, the eye isn't doing anything but exactly what you're doing. Just I'm watching me be me. I'm not doing anything else consciously. I'm watching what the gears produce. And one of the things the gears produce isn't not only vocabulary and construction of sentences and arguments, it's constructing this argument right now. I'm not having anything to do with it, right? I didn't say any of this crap. Brain did. Brain made it. And brain's going to do the same thing in terms of, I feel a little bit of a chill down the back of my spine right now. A little cold. And, it's not cold in here, but it's probably this conversation is creeping me out. So I'm getting creepy feelings. It's a fact. The brain made it. I'm sitting here in the chair experiencing it. I didn't have any subjective bullshit here. I didn't do any interpreting. I didn't do any bullshit. I didn't make it feel bad. I didn't make it feel uncomfortable. No, it happened to me. Just like my brain did the rest of this crap, that's the other thing it's doing. It's creating the ability to feel a sensation. And it did one hell of a fucking job. Again, it's trying to create reward and punishment. Well, it figured out punishment works. And it made it. It made a damn good version of it. And you're just pretending it doesn't exist. It tried to make bad, and it did. It tried in the sense that clearly it would be advantageous if you could create a mechanism that would be this motivating. It's a great motivating device for a calculator to do the harder work. Use more energy to get the answer. Make sure you're always right. Well, you're going to make sure you're always right if your balls are, under the knife.
Advocate that we're not such things. Yeah, replacing. When you say you are a brain, you're not really. You're two hemispheres of a brain, and they're almost functionally, to a large extent, the same.
Yeah, you think all that crap is important. I don't care about the hemispheres. There's 14 organs in your brain. Brain is a word for a device, like I don't know. I mean, liver is liver, but even livers have surface tissue. They have membrane tissues. They have fat cells. They have all kinds of shit in them. So, who cares? We don't care about that. That's an irrelevant detail. We know that pens can have caps on them. We're not. This isn't what we're talking about. So this is another distraction. What the fuck is that? It's just a nonsensical change the subject. Consciousness is a brain function. You don't believe that?
Right. Function. Actually, there's big differences. One gets to command this area, but through split brain experiments, this can want something, and the other want something differently. This can perceive something, and this can perceive something different. Yeah.
Yeah, and where did I ever make any argument that there's anything other than like 17 people inside of you? I've said this exactly. I had years of conversations with a mystic, and we sort of agreed that your brain is like a duplication of the 7 dwarfs. There's all kinds of programs, smart ones, dumb ones, selfish ones, intellectual ones, principled ones, all kinds of trains of thought. And the trains collide, and a certain train wins to say, that was my will today. Okay, your will every day will be different because a different train will win in the collision. So where did I say anything else would be the expectation? I don't need this lesson in biology. It's perfectly consistent with my theory of how brains work, that obviously you break the wrecking field, that you're going to have more than one train getting loose. If you break the mixing bowl, some of the ingredients are going to spill out.
And again, those are metaphors. This machine is machining in a sense, separately to this machinings. Yeah.
It says you, so again, I'm saying they're separate in the terms of the game the brain is playing is an analysis game. Clearly, the impulse engine says one thing, and our brain qualifies it before it acts. We have a huge mechanism that inhibits us. There's an inhibiting mechanism. So, I mean, clearly it's a chain of function, and there's different elements of the function, and there's gates and guards and different elements of the brain to protect us against being stupid and obliging us to spend more time thinking or do this or do that. So there's huge structure. This isn't a one isolated, there isn't like there's one piece of electricity doing all the work. No, there's a whole bunch of trains of thought, are mechanisms of function, and all those mechanisms have to go through a procedure. They have to travel a gauntlet to be a survivor, the one that will be the outcome. The outcome isn't made by one or two dominoes. There's a million dominoes.
So when inmendham uses this, I'm a brain collecting facts, and
I'm a storage device. What, you don't get that even? You can't make it that simple? I'm obviously a storage device. Stuff hits me, it sticks and stays in there. I mean, not the actual thing, of course. A representation of the thing. The event happens in my sense perception. It doesn't have to exactly hit me. It can just move into my field of sense viewing. I interpret it. I take a picture of it, essentially, and I store the picture. What the fuck?
I think, is it a pronoun when you use I and we? But his use of pronouns, let's call them pronouns.
I mean, fuck you. I mean, everybody uses these words. I complain all the time that language sucks. Here you are sitting here with Piro having an inane conversation about defining the word life, which was totally idiotic. You can't use one word to describe all of the variety that exists in forms of machine that could be identified as being relatives of the first living cell, the abiogenesis moment, the first piece of DNA. Obviously, the variety of organisms are so there's so much variety. There's no point in having some stupid word. We'll call them all living things when they're so fundamentally different. I mean, there's some of them that are flashlights, but there's no lights on, right? Nobody's home. Clearly is a silly conversation. It's like having a conversation about, well, let's come up with an explicit definition of the word love. No, let's not bother with that. Let's talk about lust and attraction and dependency, and let's talk about addiction. Let's talk about those things, because those are the only real things in that word. So clearly talking about things being in some, the living thing. The sperm cell is the same as me. No, it isn't. It's got no fucking brain.
Linguistic term for those articles of language, if I'm wrong. But
again, we all use common language. I will say the word love now and then when talking to well, he loves her or something. I shouldn't say it. I should say he's got a hard on, he wants to, come on the bitch, and, I could just make it simple. She makes him horny. Yeah, there you go. I could use some simple word. She's just his frickin' jizz rag, blah, blah, blah. It would be the more accurate description of the relationship. So yeah, we have common language. So we use this word I to identify, this package of brain that has seen certain kinds of flashlights, and that I went fishing as a kid, and I wet my pants, and I wet the bed, and, I had lots of issues. Okay, yeah, that's this one. This machine has that experience. You want to call it I, you want to call it me. What? Come on, who cares? As long as you understand that when I say it's me, I'm just saying, yeah, this machine that has a certain abundance of stored crap in it. What's the violation that I would be so outrageous as to identify the things that are separate things? All mountains should be called mountain. There, we shouldn't do anything else. No Everest, no this. No, let's give him a name. No, that would be silly. No, it wouldn't be silly. It's smart to identify things as different.
In its constant usage of unqualified, because I periodically come in, but remember when I say I and we, and it's just facade. There are no I's and we's.
Right, so why do you give me this fucking argument? Where have I indicated that I think I's and we's are any different? I've just merely stated that I can logically understand that I'm not special. This isn't a matrix. This isn't some bullshit thing where I'm the only conscious thing and everything else is a fake and everything else is cardboard or some other bullshit. I'm just recognizing that, no, the logic, the facts seem to indicate everybody else is doing exactly what the fuck I'm doing. They're doing it for, hundreds of millions of years of evolution have made them into these things. I'm not a special one. They're all doing the same fucking thing. Where is the logical mistake in that analysis, you fucking cunt? This semantic crap.
Bashing heads through the internet. Inmendham.
She keeps just trying to make it into some sort of wooey thing. Like somehow you're just wooing because you recognize the difference between having a nail in your eye and eating a cupcake. Fuck, the value difference. Oh, fuck. It's broken.
Forgets that he's not a person, that he's not a brain, he's a machine.
No, the brain is a machine, so this is just stupid. What do you think I mean by the word brain? Where did you get some indication I thought brain was something other than a machine? Where? What quote? Quote me somewhere, indicate some fucking place in the last 10 years where I've made any indication that the brain is something other than a machine. What a pile of shit. I mean, I've compared it to a computer, compared it to a calculator, compared it to a device. I just compared it to a flashlight with the light on or the light off. I mean, fuck you. This is such a dodge.
That he hasn't been programmed to do this. He's not been programmed with the verb to find facts. Yeah?
Where did I say anything programmed me? There's no programmer. There's events. There's a life history. There's cause and a fucking effect. And I'm the byproduct of that. How does that make nail in the eye or cupcake not real differences? Shit.
Evolution is just that way. Evolution is a story of machines evolving. No other word. It's
changing. Becoming more complex, having more features, building more tools. Evolution is a tool builder. That would be a better definition, right? So yeah, that's a word that you can salvage. That's not like love or life. Evolution is a word you can have a nice, clean definition for that we could probably agree on. Okay, that evolution is a process where tools are manufactured. And one of the tools we have is logic and sensation. The ability to be rewarded and punished, the ability to learn through that reward and punishment process, and therefore become wiser and wiser and wiser through our experience.
And he betrayed his use of these articles of language. We and I betray the fact that he still regards his brain as an eye, as a thing with purpose.
So that's just a gross lie. So you're a fucking liar. I mean, it's just, you're worse. You're just as bad as Piro. Where do you make that up from? Where did, it's like him saying, I'm denying peer review. I have denied paper. Where did I do any of that? Where's the evidence for any of these claims? Where do you derive this nonsensical after all those conversations with a modern mystic, how the fuck do you derive this nonsense statement? It's absolutely crap of a paraphrase. Not even close to reality. You liar. You fucking liar. I've got videos titled Me Robot. What the fuck are you talking about? You liar.
Able to have purposes, able to do logic as a person does, yeah? Not as a machine grinds out. Yeah?
So more lying. I mean, it's just amazing. Again, it's just an amazing fucking lie. Quote it. Quote the video where I said any of that, you liar. The fact that you can't realize that we have sensations, that's your problem, okay? The fact that I acknowledge them makes me rational. I'm acknowledging the difference. I'm acknowledging I'm having them. And I'm acknowledging my brain is creating them with gears. The gears are creating them. It's brain function. There's blood pumping through my brain. The neurons are moving. And there's a direct correlation. If I stick a piece of metal inside my brain, I can fuck with what I'm going to feel. I'll feel something entirely different by breaking a pathway here or breaking a pathway there. There's a clear correlation between the gears and the feeling, you idiot.
Doing logic is that a machine is just doing. The idea of it doing logic is...
And where am I saying it's doing anything other than just doing? I'm telling you, what it does is it creates a screen, it creates a projector, it creates a chair, and it fucking nails a thing to it that goes, ow, that hurt. It nails this thing that's right here, sitting here alive, saying I'm fucking conscious, I'm vulnerable to feeling, I can see, I can feel, I can touch, I can do all these different fucking things. Yeah, I'm just nailed in this fucking chair saying, what the fuck's going on? There's external shit happening and then there's internal shit happening. And I'm stuck in the middle, nailed to a chair. I can't do a damn thing about any of it. My brain creates my sentences. My brain just got excited and is yelling at you because you're a fucking imbecile. It's recognized, he's a fucking imbecile. Why do imbeciles exist? This is so disgusting. Why do imbeciles fucking exist? They're like mosquitoes. We have to eradicate imbeciles. They're so fucking annoying.
Is an overprint that an eye does to it. Yeah, is a metaphor that the idea of a person puts on top of the machine just grinding it.
Now look, no, all of this crap, again, this is such a dodge. Never have I implied there's any magic, that there's any randomness, that there's any non-cause and effect event that happens inside of our brain. And the only thing we're arguing about is I've identified a difference between the sensations. A nail in my eye and a cupcake, I can tell a huge difference. I see a cavern of difference. Cavern of value difference. You say there's no difference. I see a cavern of difference. I experience it as a cavern of difference. The two things are fundamentally easily recognized. Good feeling, bad feeling. Easily recognized as hugely different. And they're easily recognized as different in a qualitative way. Bad, good. How can you argue with me that that's not a rational way to see it? How do you tell me that it's not rational or logical for me to say exactly what I just said, and how it's not honest or it's not the truth? It's right there and fucking in front of me. I know I would pay big money not to have a nail in my eye. Big money. If somebody's coming to my house, knocks on the door, and says, we're going to stick a nail in your fucking eye, I'm going to say, well, can I do something to stop this, please? Because I don't want to experience that. Can I give you lots of money? Can I do something to stop it? Because I don't want that to fucking happen. And I don't want it to happen because it's bad.
Yes. So you're not even a brain, inmendham. You're just a machine. You're not really programmed. You're just a machine. Yeah?
You're just an imbecile, an evading coward, evading reality, hiding from it to preserve some notion that you lived a good life or that you did the best job you could or some other crap when you didn't. I don't know what your neuroses is, but it's a neuroses. It's disqualified your capacity to do reasoning. And yes, you did it for this one fact, because this one fact hurts you too much, affects you too much. You can't man up and accept the reality.
Could be a
and
new
that's all
post.
there is. That's all there is here. This is
Exactly.
irrational gibberish that we are seeing a fake difference between torture and pleasure. It's a fake difference. That's your argument. That's your only argument here. All of this other crap about I's and me's and we's is all just bullshit. You're just saying that's not a real thing. The real thing sitting right there in front of us is consciousnesses. You're just denying its existence. It's just absolute nonsense.
I'm just a machine. Right? My suffering is no more valuable than your suffering.
We already been over that crap. You're saying that it has no value. So just quit playing a game like you say the word value means anything. There's no value. Nothing can have value without the welfare of a sentient organism. Again, for you to say there's somehow value in building buildings or having conversations or all this other stuff if it doesn't have an impact on how people feel. People wouldn't argue about anything if they didn't think anything of value was at stake. They argue about things because they feel like they're being oppressed or imprisoned, or somebody they care about is being threatened, or something they love, like the animals or something, are being threatened. That's what people argue about. It's because something real is at stake in terms of some feeling thing is going to be harmed in some way. Or they're greedy and selfish, and they want more stuff, and they want to feel more comfortable, and they want a softer bed, and they want better chicks to fuck, and they want That's all that motivates everybody. It's just insane conversation to say there's something else to give a shit about. There's nothing else to give a shit about, you lunatic.
I never advocate that. My suffering is just a word overprinted on a machine doing what it does in response to various...
Again, this is just so insulting to the fucking, the price paid. It's such an insult. It just should be a crime. You should, if I was making the laws, it would be a crime. It would be. It'd be an offense, and we'd just shoot people who would insult something's feelings and capacity to feel and capacity to be hurt. So anything that insults that would be eradicated. It's such an offensive, disgusting, and dangerous pile of crap.
Stimulus, yeah. I might say
Nazis have a more sophisticated philosophy than you do. You're insane.
Matters to me, but that's from the perspective. That's to forget that I'm just a machine and slip into, oh, I'm a special person. No.
I know. So again, there's just a lie. I never said anything about being special, and I said exactly the opposite. I'm saying that there's nothing special about me. I said the words overtly, and you're just lying again. It's just, why are you lying about my position, Hathaway? Desperation? That would only be the only reason why somebody would have to lie, right? You only have to lie about what the other person is saying is when you're kind of desperate and you can't make a rational argument. So you can't stay on the subject, which is, I have no rational reason to think it doesn't matter whether somebody sticks a nail in my eye or gives me a cupcake. He's saying that I have no rational reason to see a difference between those two experiences. I have no logical reason. I have no reason. The truth is the two experiences are the same. There's no value difference between them. That's what he's saying. And it's so preposterous that the only way he can defend it is to change the subject and put words in my mouth I never spoke. So he's just a liar who cheats the argument because he doesn't have one.
Yeah, not a special person.
So again, you can't quote me ever saying I'm a special person. Can't quote that ever. Can't quote me ever saying any such nonsense.
Illusion you're a person. Yeah?
You can't quote me talking about being a person. Person is not a word I use. I don't give a shit about this personhood shit. I'm a brain. Brain has functions. One of the functions is sensation. I have sensations. Two very different kinds of sensations. Pleasant, unpleasant. The end. And pleasant and unpleasant means something. Obviously. To anybody who's experienced it, it means something. And I would say again, if we could really put your balls on the line, you would not risk forever torture for a Cheeto. You just wouldn't do it. No chance. Even if you're really, really hungry, you wouldn't do it.
With the illusion you're a brain, you're not even that.
Yeah, well, fuck you. This is retarded. It's not really a flashlight. What do you mean it's not really a flashlight? It has a bulb, has photons come out, battery, blah, blah. What are you saying? It's just such crap. You're not even the brain. Well, fuck you, idiot. I'm hitting the button. We got another, whatever, 8 seconds.
We are not even that.
So again, how does that mean anything to anybody? Again, to deny the brain as the vessel for consciousness is just silly. So, it's just, oh, your brain is just a liver. No, it's not just a liver. It's doing something a lot more sophisticated, a lot more complicated. Just so bad. Yeah, I mean, it's just this does make you hopeless. If people's brains can go this wrong, you're just saying, oh, they'll do anything to escape. They'll do anything to fuck the truth. The desperation sets in and they just start screwing everything over. Nope, just not acceptable. Horrible. Just evil. I mean, it's just evil. More evil than Trump. Even Trump isn't this stupid. And it just, like I said, it's just so funny how, but see, it's like vertigo. It's like these diseases. They can just attack one thing. Everything else works fine, but this one thing completely broken. I mean, to miss the most important fact in the universe is just amazing. Just, and well, like I say it's amazing, but again, you could probably diagram it as just the worst kind of selfish act. This nihilist cop-out. Escapism. Just a gross, disgusting escapism. You can't handle the truth. It's that simple. Because what would be the alternative? The alternative is that I can't handle the truth. And somehow, somehow it wouldn't be the most... I can't even describe how beautiful it would feel, how wonderful I would feel, how I'd actually have a true deep breath if I could believe it doesn't matter, that this isn't value being wasted, that it all, oh no, nothing bad happened. That would be so wonderful. And I want to do that. I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to think it doesn't matter. But that would be fucking the truth in a brutal, horrible, selfish way that just can't be justified. So anyway, as always, I just hate this planet. Humans are just such pieces of shit. Stupid fucking bugs. Devolving. And such.